on an 8-show-a-week schedule, you can't push yourself to the limit at the gym.
No.
I don't do that personally. Some people might, but I don't go too crazy at the gym. It's more about getting everything activated and just working the muscles that you're not working in the show. Because otherwise, the show is all your fitness load.
Yeah.
And of course, you're just going to break down because you're just doing the same thing and same thing and same thing.
I
think working everything else at a lighter load or lighter weight, whatever you need to do. But I think it's so important just to keep your whole body working.
Yeah.
So, yeah, trust that whatever you're doing is the right thing, and just as long as you're taking the right steps in your career and what you need to do and doing what you love, then it'll happen. Because I think if you don't love it, then that shows. And also you don't want to get up on that Sunday morning and do the show early morning or full time, and it's, if you love it, you'll do it. And I think if you love it, it'll work out.
Welcome back to another episode with the Dive Podcast, where each week I interview professional performing artists as we discuss their stories and dive deeper into learning how to navigate the challenges we face as artists. I'm your host, Taylor Scanlon. Today, we'll be talking about demystifying show fitness and how to maintain fitness outside of a show. We'll also explore concepts on how to cope with repetition on a long contract. And finally, take a look at some simple tips on how to stay fueled for the 8-show week with our special guest, Sebastian Johnston. Seb and I met in Mary Poppins the musical, where he played one of the ensemble members, and he was also in the Australian-New Zealand tour of The Wedding Singer, as well as Bring It On the musical, and even had experience working in Disneyland Paris. Beyond all of his experience, Seb is also a certified personal trainer and loves all things footy. So get ready as we dive into today's episode. Thank you for being here.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
You too.
So where did it all start for you before, this amazing career that you've had? Where did it all start for you?
It started, my mum put me and my sister into tap dancing classes when we were, I think I was like 4. And then that's sort of where my love for dance started.
Oh, how good.
Yeah, it's like mum and dad put us in everything when we were younger.
Really?
So
in Melbourne?
Yeah, down in the Mornington Peninsula.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, a couple of hours out of Melbourne. So literally we did everything. And then dancing was one of those things that mum always loved. So she was like, put the kids in it and see if they enjoy it. Yeah. And me and my sister both loved it. So we did it for...
So you trained together?
Yeah.
Like, oh, good.
Yeah. So we did tap dancing for, I don't know how long. It's like 6 or 8 years or something when I was younger.
Wow.
And then school and life and everything got busy, so I stopped that. And then I fell back in love with theatre through my school musicals.
So you trained when you were younger and then had a break and school and life happened. Mm-hmm. And then you found it back in musicals. That's cool.
Yeah.
What musical did you do at school?
My first ever musical I did at school was Footloose.
Footloose!
Yeah.
Well, that's got to get you going, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you get to tap in that? Or?
No, I didn't really tap for years after that, actually. Sure. I sort of stopped tap dancing in primary school and then didn't really touch tap dancing until I really went to full time. So it was a long time in between.
How many musicals did you do at school?
I did 5.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, year 8 up until year 12.
What other shows did you get to do?
We were really lucky. We did some great shows. We did Footloose, West Side Story, The Wiz,
cool,
Guys and Dolls, and Hairspray.
What a school.
Yeah.
How good.
So it was a really cool opportunity, lots of different musicals, and that's sort of where I fell in love with musical theatre. But then again, I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I finished high school. And then in year 12, I did an amateur show outside of school, and just to make year 12 busier. And then I met some people on that who had studied full-time dance and musical theatre, and people who'd worked professionally, and I was like, oh, this is actually something you can do professionally. Yeah. And I hadn't really looked into it until then, and then that's when I started branching out at full-time schools and seeing what opportunities were out there.
That's great. I mean, when we're at school, we always get taught be a doctor or whatever, something, another profession that they can see is, in quotations, good enough
literally
to set up your life.
Go to uni, you got to do all those things.
And we just do the performing for fun.
Yeah.
But it's so good that you were able to do musicals, get a taste of it, have that experience when you were younger, and then that led you into actually doing full-time.
Yeah.
So where did you do full-time?
I was at Dancefeld Studios, APO Arts Academy. So they offered like a 1-year foundation course, And that's sort of what I looked at doing as a bit of a taster and being like, do I love this? Do I love this? Can I see myself doing this as a career? And also, am I good enough? I actually got into Melbourne Uni and was going to do media communications. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I was like, I'd worked hard to get an ATAR, got into this uni, and I was like, but then I was like, defer that, do this musical theatre course.
So there was still the musical in the back of your mind that you just kind of were like,
yeah,
I want to do more of this.
And I spoke to my parents about it and family and friends, and I ended up being like, give it a crack for 12 months, do this course. Because I was going to do it part-time, and then I was like, no, just go all out into it for 12 months, and
see where
if you don't like it, then you at least know.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I think I would have always been like, what if?
What if, yeah.
So I'm glad I did that.
So you did the 12 months?
12 months, and then actually, so that was just a like afternoon musical theatre course.
Great.
And you could add on a day or two of dance if you'd like to.
Okay, so it was strictly MT.
Yeah.
Great.
And then 6 months in, the director of the course noticed I was like getting better at dancing, because I'd never actually taken like a jazz or a ballet class in my life until I was 18.
Oh, wow.
So I'd done tap when I was younger, but I'd never done any sort of proper dance training. 6 months in, the director of the course offered me a spot in the dance course as well.
Cool.
And was like, we'd love to streamline your dancing as well as your musical theatre. So then I was there, ended up being there 6 days a week.
The whole time.
Dance all day, like 9 till 4, and then 4 till 9 or
And
9
did you
at
enjoy
night.
that adding that in, or was it
Loved
stressful?
it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah. I loved being that challenge.
That's great that you have the people that are running it can also see what you need and help you along the way, helping you dance, seeing that maybe you need a little bit more dancing, and then how great that you ended up actually loving it.
Yeah, exactly. I think I remember having a meeting with them, and they were like, if you want to get into musicals, ensemble is a great way of doing that, and we can see you being in that position, and to get in that position, dance is so important.
Yeah. How amazing is that you know, we're saying that you didn't train in dance professionally until 18, and now here you are performing in musicals. I think that's great for people to hear that, especially for guys that maybe at 18 and they're in maybe year 12 and they haven't started, but they've got a passion that's still possible,
100%.
that you can go into musicals. And I guess it's got a lot to do with your dedication and the amount of work you're willing to put in as well.
Yeah, and I think it comes hand in hand. I was always grew up quite athletic and played sport, so it sort of, and I think that it did help that I had tap dancing back when I was
you had that
younger.
you were put in that environment.
100%, and I think that helped with rhythm and just coordination of dancing. And then even like my school musicals, like we had like proper choreography and all that stuff. It was like great. I did have training, but I'd never done a plie. So I'd never done a proper pirouette plie, and then I was like, I still remember my first ballet class. It was absolutely frightening. I was so scared.
That's so cool.
But then after 12 months, then went into the diploma. So that was just like a certificate in musical theatre and dance. And then after that was offered to do the diploma course, which was 2 more years.
Great.
And I did the diploma of dance and diploma of musical theatre at the same time. So it was, again, 6 days a week.
Full on.
Absolutely full on.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have had it any other way. I'm so glad I did that. Especially the heavy focus on dance helped me, because I had to sort of streamline myself from people who had been dancing their whole lives to starting at 18.
That's so good. And then, so you finished, what was 3 years?
3 years.
3 years there. Yeah. And then, did you work straight away, or did you start auditioning? What was that like for you?
Started auditioning. I was lucky I got to do a few auditions in my final year of studying, which sort of helped and just sort of gave me an idea of what it's going to be like. But then that first year was a bit of a struggle. Getting close to auditions, getting cut, all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah. But then I did a few little gigs here and there, did like a little dance regional tour, and then wasn't until the following year when I booked my first musical.
Great.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
We'll come definitely back to that. Just going to mention, when there's a few people in maybe full-time now that a lot of the courses are 3 years or 2 years, and maybe they're feeling like they're at a level where they can audition, but a lot of schools now don't allow you to audition for your first year or second year. Would you recommend, or what advice could you maybe give to people that feel like they're, in quotations, ready?
Yeah.
Like, what did that do for you, having those 2 years also to set you up and then start to audition?
Yeah, I'm grateful I didn't audition earlier than I did, because I think I probably wouldn't have been ready. And I think over time, the audition practice is so important, and I think I would have loved in my full-time course to probably have more that audition type practice.
Yeah.
That's something I would sort of really push for in that sense. But you also can't compare, and you can't get ready for an audition until you just do an audition.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think you have to do the auditions, especially early on, for shows you really think you're right for. I think you'll show yourself in the best light in that way. And then eventually you can go for shows, and once casting agents, directors, all that kind of stuff, that you can sort of branch out a bit more. But I think especially those first few, be really ready and know exactly what you want to be doing, and know that you're right for that show.
And I guess you figure that out as soon as you start auditioning too as well.
Oh, exactly.
You
That's very
maybe
true.
have something in your mind going, I'm this dancer or this type of singer, and then maybe you're feeling confident and great in your circle in full time, and then you go out into the audition room and go, oh wait, now I'm auditioning with so-and-so over here who's done 7 musicals, and you know, they're all
100%. I remember some of those first dance calls I went into, I was like, absolutely starstruck. I was like, oh my goodness. But in saying that, I do actually think it is not a bad thing to go in and fail.
Yes, of course.
Because I think you learn so much from that too.
Yeah.
So I guess in the end, if you feel like you want to audition for it, do it.
Yeah.
Because I think you'll learn something from every audition.
For sure.
And we still do. I'm sure you do as well.
Absolutely.
Like you walk out and go, okay, great. I did that well, didn't do that well. And I think you need to learn that and know how you audition and what you do well to then be able to go and work on it.
That's so important. That's so great. So definitely when you're auditioning, you're saying that, you know, go into it instead of just thinking about getting the show, and actually just go into it almost like a class in itself, and learn from it, and notice how you are under pressure and how you are in front of a panel. I think that's so important and really helpful, because if you're out there maybe listening and struggling with auditions and focusing so much on just getting the job, maybe trying to shift that mindset and going in, what can I learn from this, and start moving forward. It's just going to help pick yourself up a little bit easier to go forward into the next audition.
100%. I think one of the best mindset things I sort of changed, especially with like dance calls, is like, it's a free dance class.
Yes.
And you get to dance with amazing dancers around you, learn sometimes really iconic choreography, and if you treat it like that and don't treat it as an audition sometimes, for some people that helps, but I know it does for me. It's like you just got to go in and
just
have
this masterclass, kind of just like an open age masterclass.
Free dance.
Everyone's ready to go. Yeah. Everyone goes flat out. I love that. So then you started performing. What was the first show you started doing?
Bring It On.
Bring It On.
Yeah.
And how was that?
It was awesome. Yeah. It was such a great experience.
Did you tour? You toured that in Australia, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah, we went around Australia, so it was first experience of that.
How was that, like, touring for the first time? What did that feel like?
It was crazy. It was a bit weird. I was lucky because we opened in Melbourne, so that was really nice.
That's
to be able to be here to
feel a bit more settled. And you can do a little bit of it, but you're not fully, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And then once the show was settled, then we went on tour.
Great.
And it wasn't a massively long run, which was sort of nice as well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't away for years and months, but it was
it was a fantastic show. I remember watching it in Melbourne, actually. Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I got to learn all sorts of cheerleading stuff, which I never would have thought I would actually be able to do.
That's so cool. Like musicals, you just really don't know what you're going to get.
No.
1 minute you're tapping, 1 minute you're upside down, 1 minute you're a cat. And you're like, it's just insane. Yeah. So you toured Australia for the first time. That must have been so exciting.
Yeah.
And then when that finished, what was the break like into your next kind of gig? And what?
It was only a few weeks before I went over to Disneyland Paris. I was very lucky, and it was nice finishing the Bring It On contract that I already had something coming up, which is rare, and it's a lovely feeling to have.
You just relish it while you can.
Yes, exactly. So it was really nice to have that feeling and be able to leave Bring It On. Of course, like, upset that I was finishing my first show and all that stuff, but I was really excited because I knew I had something coming up.
That's great. And so what was it like transitioning from touring Australia to now Paris? Like, there could have been
completely different vibe.
Yeah. What was the experience like for you, A, being in Paris, but B, Disneyland, which is like a whole other world within itself? How was it like performing there, and what did you feel like you got out of it?
Well, it was a great experience to do a full tap show.
Great.
Which was awesome because it was full tap dancing.
So cheerleading to tap.
Cheerleading to tap, yeah, exactly. So, and it was really nice because it was mostly an Australian cast, the dancers. So we sort of like created this little like Aussie family over there because we're all over there by ourselves. Yeah. But it was a great experience to do a full tap dancing show that was quite challenging in the sense of like, I remember like rehearsing it and it being quite tough in the sense of we had to learn 4 different tracks that you were constantly changing between, and there were some amazing tap dancers who were picking it up like that, and I think I was like, oh, I'm a bit slower than you guys, so I'm like, how do you do that? But it was a great challenge in that sense, and then once the show was comfortable, it was so much fun. So yeah, and it was like a great experience. It was a bigger theatre than I thought it was going to be. I thought I wasn't really sure what to expect, but it was like 1,500 seat theatre that was packed every day, like in 5 shows a day.
Wow.
It was an intense schedule.
5 shows a day?
5 shows a day.
So how long was the show?
It was about half an hour. So not too bad. But yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So it was a full-on schedule, and it was constantly up and down.
How did you manage that? Did they have accommodation at the...
Yeah, it was a bus. It was about 10-15 minutes away, so not far.
Great.
So it was pretty easy to get in and out of, but it was just cold.
Right.
It was in winter.
Oh.
So that was a whole other challenge as well, staying warm and...
Gosh. Did it ever snow when you had to like perform or anything, or is it? Just
no, we saw snow like once, and that was it. So
just
it was
not too. Yeah.
No, it wasn't too bad.
All right, cool.
But the theatre itself was quite warm, which was nice. And then once the show started, you're a sweaty mess. So.
All right, so you're in Paris, tap dancing in the cold.
Yeah.
Worst places to be. And then, how long were you there for?
For like 4 months.
Oh, cool.
We rehearsed for almost a month, and then did a couple of months of shows.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then, so then you came back home for a little bit.
I literally came back home, and then COVID hit.
Then COVID hit.
Yeah. So I was lucky I wasn't actually stuck over there.
Yeah. Wow.
I got back. I travelled a bit of Europe after the contract, and then got back in like Feb of 2020.
Yeah.
So it was.
Gosh.
I remember like getting on the plane coming home, and there was people wearing masks, and I was like, this is like strange. Like not like occasionally you see the occasional mask at the airport, but this was like a lot more people, and I was like,
what's
going on here?
Yeah.
And then I got home, and a few weeks later, auditions were getting cancelled, everything, and I was just.
I mean, everything just shut down, didn't it?
Exactly.
Crazy.
I remember there was this one week where I think probably 3 or 4 auditions that were like this to start the year, and then bang, 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 all cancelled, and you're just like, oh, it'll happen in a few weeks. It's fine. It'll all pass over, and then.
Yeah. So how did you manage through? I mean, everyone did their own kind of thing in COVID.
Yeah.
But what did you kind of do? And we'll get a little bit into the topics now of what is show fitness and how you can kind of maintain that fitness. You did a whole tour of Australia, bringing on cheerleading. You went to Paris, you were tap dancing for 4 months, and then all of a sudden stop.
Yeah.
What did you do to keep up that fitness? I mean, every single show is going to be different.
Of course.
So when we think of show fitness, it can be very specific to that different show.
Yeah.
But in general terms, what did you do at home? Were you already a PT prior to...
No, so that's when I studied my PT.
That's when you studied.
Yeah.
Right.
So gym fitness is something I sort of, during full time, I sort of started to really take seriously and enjoy and see the benefits of it, because like most mornings it would literally be in our program to be like, gym from 9 till 10 or whatever it was. So you just go there and do your own thing and get ready. So it was like part of our course was a gym membership, which was literally like across the road from the dance studio. So that was great. And yeah, it literally was like 9 till 10. You'd go there, mow like 3 or 4 mornings a week and just do
That's
gym.
great.
Yeah.
So you already had that structure starting to be put into yourself of getting up and going, great, this actually works for me.
Yes,
I love
100%.
that.
And I met some PTs there, did a few sessions with them, and sort of started to get the ball rolling in that sense. So that's sort of where my enjoyment for fitness and strength training started. And then just before I booked Bring It On, I was almost going to apply for a PT course. At that point, I was like, well, I was auditioning a lot, all that kind of stuff. And then I actually had a coffee with an industry professional and had a really lovely chat with her.
Oh, wow.
And she told me that something so important to her, I won't say who it is, but she's a very like professional performer and wonderful career, and she was so lovely to give me the time of day for a couple of hours.
That's great.
But I still remember that chat, and she told me to find love out of theatre, which was, at the time I was so thrown by. I was like, why? And she was like, because you almost need to care less, almost. Not love it, but just have other things to focus on as well. Otherwise, if it's your whole life, if it stops or if you get rejected from an audition, you're just going to be constantly battling and battling. And then that's sort of when I was like, okay, well, what else is there?
Yeah.
And then, of course, as she said that, I was looking into doing PT work, and then I booked shows, and I'm like, oh, great.
Great.
But then COVID came, and I was like, well, this is a time, stop, find an online course,
Great.
Did my Cert 3 and 4 in fitness,
Wow.
so became a certified PT.
That's great.
Yeah.
And how long did that take you, that course?
The Cert 3 was a couple of months, and then the Cert 4 was almost a year.
What institution was that with?
Fit College.
Fit College.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it's great. It was all online, and then ended up being the Cert 4 post-COVID. I was finishing that off, so I went into a few of their classes to finish that off.
Oh, good.
Because the Cert 4 was
mapped out well then, because COVID kind of happened for what felt like forever, and then as it started to all open up again, you could then do your Cert 4 and get into the studio.
Yeah.
Or the gym.
The gym.
Studio? Yeah.
Studio gym. Same thing.
It's all studio for me.
Exactly.
Okay, so how then, from the knowledge that you got from being a PT, how did you learn, or maybe even like what benefits have you found in your experience from having something like the gym or Pilates or something else now that you have this extra love outside? What has that done for you in your career, and maybe any recommendations on what people can do to stay fit, in your opinion?
Well, I think everyone enjoys their version of fitness or working out.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, it's been strength training and resistance training and all that kind of stuff, because I love doing that.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's Pilates, yoga, and it's whatever works for you is what you should do, I think. Don't try and push at something you don't like to do. I know a lot of people hate running and they're like, I want to be a runner, but don't do that.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, no point.
Yeah. Something I would love to talk about, and this has only been my experience as well, whenever I do the gym, I get it, because a lot of people maybe on here that are in shows, they're waking up and they're so exhausted. And the thought of going to the gym or going to a class, they feel like they're already maybe at the bottom of the barrel, or they need to just rest and do nothing, which of course you can. But anytime that I personally, whenever I've gone to the gym on, say, a day off or even on a show day, I get into the show and I just feel so much better. I feel like my muscles are turned on, I'm ready to go, and I actually have increased energy.
Yeah.
And that was a massive shift for me, because I was...
100%. I remember when you came in for a day on Poppins and you were like, I went to the gym for the first time in months, and you were like, I feel so strong. I still remember
And I was doing lifts with Molly.
Exactly.
And I was like, let's go. She's like, what happened? She loved it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the time, and this goes really well with repetition on a long contract, having something outside and building your body. When you're doing the show the same again, the bodies are repeating the same again. So having that extra something outside where your body's now doing something different, it loves it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think you certainly can't, on an 8-show-week schedule, you can't push yourself to the limit at the gym.
No.
I don't believe. I don't do that personally. Some people might, but I don't go too crazy at the gym. It's more about getting everything activated and just working the muscles that you're not working in the show. Because otherwise, the show is all your fitness load.
Yeah.
And of course, you're just going to break down because you're just doing the same thing and same thing and same thing.
I
think working everything else at a lighter load or lighter weight, whatever you need to do. But I think it's so important just to keep your whole body working.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think of the body like on a scale from 1 to 10, if all you're doing is just the show, it's going to take so much time to get from 1, 2, 3, 4 to get to the 10 to perform. But I've found in the body, once you do some exercise, some strength training, some other form of fitness that isn't the show, you're already getting up that scale. So when it gets to the show time, maybe you're already at a 6 or a 7. You're not having to like use the first act to kind of go, okay,
yeah, exactly. And then there's a Saturday matinee.
And then there's a Saturday matinee, which is a whole, other episode.
No, but I absolutely agree. And I think it's finding the balance for you, like that works for you, that you might be able to do the gym every morning before the show, and that's fine, that's awesome for you. But like I found, like in Mary Poppins, I found the balance of 3 or 4 days of strength training outside of the show was a good balance for me. Yeah. So by Sunday I wasn't absolutely cooked and my body wasn't absolutely wrecked, but I felt like I'd done enough to get through.
Absolutely.
And also I find, like, for me, it's a gym is also like a bit of a mindfulness session for me. I can go there, switch off for an hour or so each day, headphones in, music on, and just focus on that. And I think that works for me. It doesn't work for everyone.
No,
and some people might need something else that works for them in that sense, even if it's, I don't know, going for a walk or doing yoga or doing anything. But for me, that works for me, and I think it's a good little hour where I can sort of get in a bit of a zone and just do what I need to do.
That's great. I mean, there's science that backs it now that when you're waking up in the morning, you have, I don't know exactly what it's called in the brain, basically the part of the brain that makes you think so much and helps you basically go into that anxiety space or overthinking. And they've done a lot of research now that when you get up and get moving, you actually quieten down that part of your brain. And when you start to move the body, you almost think as though that there's like circling energy, if you wish, of this happening in the brain, or that makes you overthink, that makes you want to just stay in bed or whatever. But what happens when you start moving the body, they've found that this circling energy then goes out of your mind and into your body. So then after you've actually exerted, you've actually shifted the whole state of your brain and your body as well. So that's great. Let's talk about a little bit more on repetition in a long contract. We just did Poppins together, which was a long time.
Kind of
a long time. How long was it? I don't even know.
20 months or something?
Crazy. Anyway, so we had a great time together. And you played a wonderful ensemble track. And how many shows did we do? Over 500?
Yeah, like 500, almost 550 or something.
And you were in Mary Poppins with me,
and
you were performing every single night in your ensemble track, not covering anyone, for over 500 shows. How did that go in terms of repetition on the body and on the mind, you know, getting through 8 shows and not having anything else? I mean, you have the gym and things like that, but in terms of show contract, how did you find coping with that repetition?
It was tough. It came and went, but there were good things about it in the sense of once I was really comfortable in my track, I could really just, not zone out, but I knew exactly what I was doing. I wasn't like worrying about, do I remember this? Do I remember this line? Do I remember this step? And which was nice sometimes to be able to sort of go in and just get in the zone, do the show, and then
that's it.
Which is good. But then also times I was like, I wish I was doing something else. I'd watch you guys, like you swings, and just be like, oh, you just
doing everything.
Yeah, exactly. Which would be amazing. But and I'd love to be a swing. I think that'd be such a great experience. And I think everyone should be a swing at some point in their career. Because it's insane what you guys do. But in saying that, it was nice because I could stay in my own lane when I know, like, COVID hit our cast a fair bit, and like I could sort of just be in my lane and then sort of help out when I could, but know that I was like, do your job, stay there, do what you need to do.
You have one task to do.
Yeah, exactly. And the madness is going on around you sometimes, but you just make sure you're doing your track right. And there was a lot of things changing, like a lot of casts were changing, covers were going on, all that kind of thing. So it was nice in that sense to be able to have that variety.
Changes it up a bit, and you get to partner new people and work with different people.
Like even little things like having different kids on every night. That like, and I don't think you really realise it, but that does actually
make a difference.
It's something, you hear something different, you look at something different. It's like every night there's a different set of kids on. So even something like that adds a bit of variety to, I think, which sort of helps.
So if you're on stage all the time in a long contract, just coming into work, doing what you know that you've set there to do, but having that awareness maybe to open out and be like, what else could I look at today? What new conversation could I hear or talk to or see? And that's great.
Absolutely. And I think that we were really lucky because we had that opportunity to explore and have fun in so many different scenes. Of course, there was times where you had to be very diligent in what you did, but then there were some scenes you could have a bit of fun. You could talk to that, look at that different person. You know what I mean? Like explore, and I think that helped everyone get through that long contract.
I've never done like Les Mis or anything, but I think we kind of had it good in terms of if you're doing a long contract, doing a show that's happy and funny can definitely be easier to get through
100%.
than something that is really
finishing the show singing Supercal is a lot nicer than other shows that are out there, that's for sure. So I think we're really lucky in that sense because you end the show on that high. Also going back to like the physical side of things, it was great in the sense because it was the longest show I've ever done. I knew exactly what I needed to do every day to get ready for my show. My show wasn't changing. I knew, okay, you need to warm that part of your body up because you're doing this every night. And
so that's great advice.
In that sense, it was great for that because I knew what I needed to do to get through my show.
So did you build kind of a structure or a rough template of your day, then knowing what you had to do to go on stage?
Yeah, and then I knew exactly what I needed to do from the hour call onwards get ready for the show, and then throughout the show, even like my track, for example, had a long break from dancing
Yes.
between Supercal to Step in Time.
Yes.
Which was it was a decent break of
Yeah.
no real dancing. So I knew that I had to give myself at least a few minutes before Step in Time to do a proper warm up again. Because it had been over an hour since I was dancing, and even from the warm up to the start of the show, or to Jolly Holiday, it was a big gap. So I made sure I gave myself those few moments to sort of make sure I was ready and on, and not just going into any dance number cold, because that's when...
Yeah, I'd love to talk a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people... What's your opinion on maybe some people are going to, in a 2-show day, they've done the first show, they've warmed up for the first show, and then some people feel like, oh, well, it's the hour, or it's the 5 before the second show, I've already done a show, my body should be warm, in quotations. What's your opinion on that? And like, maybe even a bit more scientifically, but having that background in PT.
Yeah.
Does the body need another full warm-up, or...
Probably not another full warm-up.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact scientific...
That's okay.
But... Yeah, your body, of course, is not as warm as it was.
Yes.
Like, it's been hours since you've done that and done the show, and you've had whatever you've done in the break, if you've had a nap, gone home, whatever you need to do.
Yes.
But then everyone's different. If they need to do the warm-up mentally to get ready and prepare for the show, or if they need to switch off and not do that.
I guess it's like that, what I was just saying before, 1 to 10. Like, once you've done the show and you're at this 10, maybe, you, like you said, resting or having a nap or having dinner, that scale goes down again because you've started to cool down.
Yes.
You started to switch off maybe even from the show. So, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But then again, like, everyone knows their show and their track and what they need to do for that. So, like, I know you did your warm-ups for, especially when you're on for certain tracks.
Yes.
And yeah, I knew in the moments of the show, and I was lucky because I had decent breaks in the show to do warm-ups, especially for that sort of second show, if I needed to get ready a little bit quicker. So I knew I could have a bit more of a stretch or a warm-up and get ready.
And that's great because you had that kind of background training in strength training and learning what your body kind of needed for specific tracks and roles. Maybe there's some people listening and they think this is great, but maybe they don't know what they need. What advice would you give them, or who would you suggest they speak to create that plan for them?
I think just try different PTs, try different classes, try different gyms, and I think you'll learn what you like, what works for you. And I think the more people you can go to the gym with, even like friends, or even just YouTube, like there's so much out there that you can just watch and see and just try and mimic and then figure out what works for you. I think that's what I learned so much from online and going with friends to the gym.
That's
and
great.
being like, so find the people that enjoy that as well, or people that you know and that go to the gym, and just ask them, just be like, can I come with you and do your workout? So that I've done that with friends. I've been like, I love what you do. Can I just come and do the same workout as you?
Yeah.
I did a contract with a guy a few years ago, and he was really like fit and strong, and I was like, I want to be like you. So I literally, for the 4 weeks we were doing a show together, I literally would go to the gym every day with him and just follow with what he did.
How good.
Yeah.
That's great advice, because I think a lot of people maybe be thinking, oh, I want to get stronger, but I can't afford a physio, or I can't afford a PT 3 sessions a week. Having YouTube, Google is a great place to start if 100%. You don't have that investment up front.
I'm not trying to like plug PTs because I am one, but I think it is important to, at least if you've never been into a gym before, book in to see a couple of sessions with it, just so they can actually watch you. And like, because of course you learn so much from online, but if you're going in absolutely blind, I would recommend it is worth just that little bit of money just to really know, even 3 or 5 sessions, just to be like, okay, I want to do one upper body, lower body, like just to sort of figure out, okay, I'm doing the right technique, a few little cues and things to watch and look out for.
I absolutely agree with you there. It's exactly what I did when I started in gym. I was like, right, I need to just learn what I need to learn and understand what the kind of mechanics of lifting weights to make sure you're not injuring yourself. Because maybe you're listening and going, great, well now I'm going to go lift weights and follow a YouTube thing. But there is help around, and a lot of studios that on gym places you go to now have a free PT session.
That's when you sign up.
When you sign up, and absolutely take that. Don't be scared of that. Because just looking at your alignment, you can really go from strength and feeling amazing to injured and never maybe wanting to do it again.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because there is a real technique to it,
Yes.
which I think a lot of people don't really realise.
Yes.
And also there's a whole stigma about people who are scared to lift weights because they'll get too big, and it's like, oh, unless you're lifting massive weights and eating so much food, you're not going to do it. It's a massive stigma that needs to be taken away.
Yeah.
And you can try all sorts of different gyms. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a trainer currently at a group training facility, and that's awesome, and that's a great way of doing it because we have a mix of both, of cardio and strength and all that kind of stuff. And it's and if you are scared to walk into a gym by yourself, a group training is a great way of inducting yourself into that sort of gym.
That's great. So it's not super focused on you, but you get that taste of that environment.
Yeah.
And, maybe you'll love it from there, and you can work. And similar to a dance teacher, singing teacher, a lot of the time you just got to find that right PT that works for you as well.
Exactly.
That knows. When I started doing PT, I knew I've been vegan for 7 odd years, and I wanted to have the full nutrition part of it and everything. And so I actually researched and found a plant-based PT. He was actually from the UK, but he was here in Melbourne, and we trained together, and he had like all plans and everything, figuring out what was going to work best for you and how they can best suit you. That's great. Final topic that I'd love to discuss is, this is great when I was just suggesting food, is maybe some tips or your top tips on how you fueled yourself for an HO week.
I think the best thing to say would be just to be prepared with your food. Otherwise, you'll go with what's easy, what's closest, what's cheapest, all that kind of stuff. And I think it's so important to be prepared with what you're eating and know when you should eat and all that kind of stuff, because I think it's so important. Otherwise, you'll just go, oh, I'll grab that and grab that and grab that. And of course, sometimes you need a bit of sugar. You need that little treat to get you through. But especially those main meals of the day, I know you're really great at that as well. Like, you were cooking for us for months, you know what I mean? Like, so
you've got to plan it.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. And if you think maybe you're just starting out in your HO weeks, or you've been doing it for ages, or you're about to start, you will get tired, you will get fatigued, and it's when you're tired and fatigued and don't feel like it, trust me, the last thing you're going to want to do is cook. So at the start of the week or on your day off, just go to the grocery store, get a few things, and it doesn't even have to be expensive. No. And there's so much, even Google things out there. You can type in meal prep so-and-so for yourself. And there's even calculators and stuff out there now if you want to track calories, but there's just so much available out there. And I think some people maybe need to hear that you don't need to spend so much money. All you need is a bit more maybe focus and
it doesn't take as long as people think.
No, it doesn't.
It really doesn't. And I guess I'm lucky because, and you're saying we enjoy cooking.
Yes.
So, and I know people don't, and that's fine. But then again, there's great like meal plans out there that you can get ready-made meals that are better than what you can just buy at McDonald's.
And they're getting very smart now with those the instant meals that you can get.
100%.
I know Solara is great, like they have that vegan one, and I think like Muscle Chef and
they're really good.
They're great.
But that's the thing, be prepared. If you don't want to cook, have them.
Yeah.
And have them ready to go.
And so maybe if that a whole week's worth of cooking scares you, maybe you have those extra meals for maybe 2 of the meals or 1 of the meals. So you're just cooking your lunch to start with.
Yeah.
Or it's just your breakfast, and then you can have those. So don't feel like it has to be all or nothing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. So we're finishing up now, and I'd love to ask you the final question that I have been asking everyone on the episode. And that is, if you can go back to yourself when you're starting, Paris hasn't happened in the college yet, you haven't you've just finished your musicals in high school and you're about to start whatever this career is, what advice would you give yourself?
Oof. All right. I'd try and tell myself to trust that it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. And I think we sort of briefly touched on auditioning and all that kind of stuff, especially when you're coming out of full-time. I know that first year of not getting any big shows that you like, of course you come out of full-time, you're like twinkle in the eye and you're like, I'm going to book a musical straight away. And it's like, some people it happens and that's awesome, but not for everyone. And I think, to tell myself, even when I was studying, just keep working, it'll happen when it's meant to happen. And for most people, if not everyone, it does. So trust that whatever you're doing is the right thing, and just as long as you're taking the right steps in your career and what you need to do and doing what you love, then it'll happen. Because I think if you don't love it, then that shows. And also you don't want to get up on that Sunday morning and do the show early morning or full time, and it's, if you love it, you'll do it. And I think if you love it, it'll work out. And also you can see that. You see that in an audition room, you see that on stage, like you see the people that really love it.
Yeah.
And I guess that's another thing. Don't lose the love for it, and take time to dance for yourself and sing for yourself, and not just do everything because you think it's the right thing to do. Because you got into this for a reason. For me, tap dancing is so for me because that's where I started, it's what I love doing. It's what made me fall in love with dancing. And I think being so lucky to do a number of little tap shows and step in time every night, it was still just like, this is so damn cool and this is why you love it, and don't lose the love for it.
Lovely. Great. Well, I'd love to let people know where they can find you, either like on socials or you're working currently as a PT. How can they find you?
Yeah, on social media, Instagram. I don't know what my it's Sebastian Johnston. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll tag. I think it's Seb Johnston or something.
Yeah,
I actually couldn't tell you.
We'll add it all into the show notes for sure.
And then if you want, currently I'm at Body Fit Training in St Kilda. So if you're around the area, come check it out. Should get you in.
Yes, let's go.
Otherwise, there's so many places, and please feel free to reach out, message me, whatever you need to do. But
wonderful, awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here on today's episode at the Dive podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your preferred platform. Stay connected with us on social media with the handle at thedive.com.au. And for additional content, I've added in a blog post talking about the best times to eat before a performance. You can find this blog post at our website on www.thedive.com.au. And as always, if you have any questions that you're struggling with and want answered either for yourself or you want to ask Seb a question, you can email us at info@thedive.com.au. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and go for it. I'll see you on the next episode.